Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're not looking decades ahead. We're diving straight into something very current. The evolving reality of Russian cyber threats in, well, right now, 2025.
Yeah, and it's important to stress, this isn't theory anymore. Forget that old image of, a lone hacker in a basement.
Exactly. That picture's outdated. We're talking about highly organized groups, cyber criminal enterprises, really. Incredibly well funded, operating with the kind of sophistication you'd expect from major corporations.
And the funding is key. Our sources are talking multi-million-dollar budgets, complex hierarchies within these groups. It's a fundamental shift, a real industrialization of cybercrime.
It is, and it's not just about the tech skills either, is it? I mean, obviously that's crucial, but they're bringing in other expertise too.
Absolutely, psychology, linguistics, even political and economic analysis. It's all being used strategically to make attacks more effective, more targeted.
It makes the whole thing genuinely multifaceted, a much broader threat than just code.
That integration really marks a significant evolution. It's not just about finding a software flaw anymore. It's about understanding systems, human behavior, how societies work, and exploiting all of it.
So our sources have flagged some of the, let's say, major players here. We should probably name a few.
Definitely helps to know who we're talking about.
Okay, so there's APT28. You might know them as Fancy Bear or FCY Bear, often linked reportedly to Russian military intelligence.
Right. Then you've got APT29, Cozy Bear, sometimes Subi Bear, different alleged ties more towards foreign intelligence operations.
And Evil Corp, the name says a lot. Very commercially driven, seems like.
Very. Plus Turla, or Snake, known for being highly advanced.
Sandworm, too, focused on destructive attacks.
Don't forget, Relief of the Senator, they've apparently resurfaced. And the Silence Group, targeting banks.
And Dark Side, or Black Matter, as they've sometimes been known. The ransomware specialists.
Yeah, quite a list. And as the sources detail, each one seems to have carved out its niche, its own alleged specializations and tactics. It makes for a really complex threat environment.
So our mission with this deep dive is pretty straightforward, really. We want to understand the nature of these threats, the potential impact in 2025. And crucially, what does all this mean for you listening now in your everyday digital life?
Okay, where should we start? The scale.
Yeah, let's unpack that first. The sheer scale and the organization. This jump from individuals to these, well, structured entities. You mentioned state backing, big money. That feels like a major turning point.
It absolutely is. It signals a huge leap in capability and therefore then the potential damage they can inflict.
And the sources talk about this talent ecosystem in Russia. Skilled programmers finding work in legitimate tech, yes, but also opportunities in these shadow operations.
It seems that way. It suggests a pool of technical skill that these groups can potentially draw from. It raises, interesting questions about where talent flows when opportunities exist on both sides of the law.
There's that dark joke from Russian universities you mentioned.
Oh yeah, our graduates are so good, the whole world is afraid of them. It's provocative, sure, but it hints at a recognized level of technical expertise.
Okay, let's get into specifics. Some of these actors and their methods, APT28, Fancy Bear, they're way beyond simple phishing now, right?
Oh, completely. What's really notable is their move towards these complex multi-vector operations. Think attacks from several directions at once.
More sophisticated.
Much more. And their focus seems quite strategic. Compromising political figures before key events, like the sources mentioned with the 2024 elections in Europe and the US, that shows a clear, concerning objective.
And the AI angle for phishing emails. That sounds genuinely alarming, analyzing communications data to make bait that looks perfect.
It's a game changer for them. It allows for incredibly personalized attacks that bypass a lot of standard defenses. It's not just casting a wide net anymore. It's like crafting the perfect lure for a specific fish.
Connects to the bigger picture, right? AI becoming this double-edged sword in cybersecurity.
Exactly. Attackers are leveraging it just as much as defenders, maybe even more effectively sometimes, for certain tasks like social engineering.
Now, contrast that with APT29, Cozy Bear. They're called the invisible knife. Why? What's their approach?
Well, unlike APT28's often more visible actions, Cozy Bear seems to excel at stealth, long-term espionage, staying hidden inside networks for incredibly long periods.
How long were you talking?
The sources suggest an average dwell time of around 18 months by 2025. That's a year and a half undetected inside a system.
Wow.
And their alleged activity in the pharmaceutical sector, stealing intellectual property in 2023-2024, it shows that significant economic espionage is likely part of their playbook. They play the long game. Very patient.
Okay, moving on to Evil Corp. Sounds like a cartoon villain, but their impact is devastatingly real. Ransomware.
That's their main game,
Yeah.
yes. And what's fascinating, in a disturbing way, is how they've reportedly commercialized hacking. It's run like a business.
Like a corporation with departments.
Apparently so. Even things like HR have been mentioned in some reports. Led allegedly by Maxim Yakubets, there's that $5 million FBI reward out for him.
Yeah.
It just shows cybercrime operating at a highly profitable, though obviously illegal, enterprise.
Billions netted from ransomware. It's staggering.
It demonstrates just how effective and lucrative that model can be in this dark market.
And it's almost surreal that there are structures supposedly being studied, not endorsed, obviously, but analyzed for operational efficiency.
Yeah, that's a strange anecdote from the sources, but it highlights the almost professional nature of their operation.
Okay, Turla, also known as Snake. They sound incredibly advanced, targeting air-gapped networks not even connected to the internet. How?
Their capability there is really top tier. The sources suggest they compromise satellite communication channels, basically bypassing the physical isolation.
Intercepting satellite traffic?
That seems to be the method. It shows a really high level of technical sophistication and resourcefulness, and the fact they apparently developed quantum-resistant encryption for their own malware back in 2024.
Quantum resistant. Why is that significant?
It means they're thinking ahead. They're preparing for a future where quantum computers might break today's standard encryption. They're future-proofing their tools and communications. Very forward-thinking in a worrying way.
Then there's Sandworm, their focus, critical infrastructure. That feels genuinely terrifying.
It is. Their specialization in destructive attacks makes them exceptionally dangerous. Think power grids, industrial control systems.
The sources mentioned non-working traffic lights, stopped elevators, brings the potential impact right into the physical world.
Exactly. Their reported tool, Malicious POVO Instruction 2025, seems designed to adapt to different industrial systems, potentially causing cascading failures. It's about creating widespread disruption, physical chaos.
Relief of the cynosure. They were partially neutralized but came back. Focusing on supply chain attacks now.
Yeah, their resurgence shows how persistent these groups can be. And supply chain attacks are particularly insidious.
Oh, so?
Because they target the software or services we trust. By inserting malicious code into legitimate updates, like in that reported attack on a global IT provider affecting thousands of companies.
It makes you question everything you install or update.
Precisely. It shakes the foundation of trust in the digital supply chain. Can you be sure your software is safe? It's a tough question.
Hence Silence Group, the banking specialist, they build custom tools.
Apparently, yes. They don't rely on off-the-shelf malware, preferring bespoke tools for each operation. Highly targeted.
Focused on SWIFT systems, international money transfers.
That seems to be a key area, perfecting techniques to get into those systems and steal funds, sometimes almost invisibly. And the irony, sources say, is that even well-funded banks can fall victim due to basic human error.
Someone clicking a bad link or opening an attachment.
Often, yes. It's a stark reminder that the human element is often the weakest link, no matter how good the tech defenses are.
Lastly, dark side black matter. They evolved into ransomware as a service, like franchising cyber extortion.
Essentially, yes. A REN-S platform, they provide the ransomware tools, the infrastructure, even support services like call centers for negotiation.
Call centers for negotiating ransoms. Seriously.
And even legal consultations on paying ransoms, according to some reports. They provide the whole package to other criminals.
Like a business service for hackers.
It lowers the barrier to entry for launching major ransomware attacks and creates a much more distributed threat. The image painted is of this almost corporate structure managing global extortion. It's chilling.
So these groups, they're not static. Their methods are constantly evolving beyond, the spammy phishing emails we used to see.
Definitely. The attack vectors are getting way more sophisticated. Advanced phishing is a prime example.
Using AI and big data for that?
Yes, to build detailed psychological profiles of targets. Analyzing public speeches, articles, social media, everything to craft the perfect, tailored message. Highly personalized.
And voice phishing or vishing? Mimicking voices in real time. That sounds like sci-fi.
But it's happening. The sources gave that example of the financial director tricked into transferring millions because they thought they were talking to their CEO. As voice synthesis gets better.
It becomes a really potent weapon for deception.
Exactly. Who do you trust when you can't even trust someone's voice on the phone?
Supply chain attacks, we touched on that with relief of the cynosure, targeting the software itself.
It's a huge vulnerability. Compromise one supplier, gain access to potentially thousands of their customers, the infiltration of open source projects by malicious actors. It really highlights the risk in relying on shared code bases, even trusted ones.
We need to talk about zero-day exploits. Remind us what those are.
Sure, a zero-day vulnerability is a flaw in software that's unknown to the developers, and therefore there's no patch for it yet. 0 days since it was discovered.
Making them incredibly valuable to attackers.
Extremely valuable. There's a whole underground market for these. Automated tools hunt for them, and they can fetch astronomical prices.
Like how much?
Sources suggest figures like up to $5 million for an iOS exploit, maybe even $10 million for something targeting critical infrastructure by 2025. It shows the scale of investment in finding these weaknesses.
And we mentioned Turla using quantum-resistant numbers or algorithms, protecting their own stuff from future code breaking.
Exactly. They're playing the long game, anticipating the day quantum computers might render current encryption obsolete. It's about ensuring their malware and communications stay secure down the line. Proactive defense for their offensive tools.
Okay, living off the land, Laudalel. Sounds harmless. What is it?
It's actually very clever and stealthy. Attackers use legitimate tools and processes already present on the target system to carry out their attacks.
So they're not installing obvious malware.
Often, no. They might use built-in scripting tools, system administration utilities, things that security software expects to see running. It makes their activity blend in with normal operations, almost invisible.
Like that joke about hacking with just Notepad and calculator?
Kind of illustrates the principle, yeah. Using existing tools in malicious ways makes detection really hard.
Deepfakes and synthetic media. We hear a lot about this. How advanced is it by 2025?
According to the sources, incredibly realistic. Distinguishing high-quality deepfakes from genuine video or audio often requires sophisticated analysis.
And the potential uses.
Social engineering, disinformation. Imagine a fake video of a CEO causing a stock crash, or that fake presidential address creating market panic mentioned in the reports. It directly targets trust and perception. Could you spot one? It's getting harder.
Attacks on the identification chain, identity poisoning. Sounds nasty.
It is. Groups like APT29 reportedly use this to compromise authentication systems, like Active Directory and Windows networks. They create ghost accounts.
Ghost accounts?
Yeah, accounts that are hidden, that don't show up in standard audits. It gives them persistent, invisible access deep inside a network, a long-term foothold.
And all this feeds into next-generation social engineering, right? Using all that data we leave online.
Precisely. Big data analytics allows attackers to build incredibly detailed psychological profiles. They know your habits, your connections, your interests.
To craft the perfect manipulation.
Exactly. The example given was analyzing a nuclear facility employee's social media to impersonate a long-lost relative needing help. That level of personalization makes attacks incredibly difficult to resist.
It's not just the attack methods. The way these groups communicate is evolving too. Darknet forums aren't just forums anymore.
No, they've become much more professionalized, according to reports. Think networks with verification, rating systems, access based on proven skills. It's where they discuss tactics, trade exploits, form expert groups. Constant innovation happens there.
And they're using encrypted messengers, obviously, but with extra layers.
Oh yeah, self-destructing messages, multi-layer encryption, routing traffic through chains of proxies, even custom communication protocols designed to look like normal internet traffic, like web browsing or video streaming, to avoid detection.
Digital dead drops too, hiding things in plain sight online.
Yeah, like in comment sections of obscure websites or hidden edits on Wikipedia pages. And steganography, hiding messages or commands inside image files or other data. Classic spycraft, updated for the digital age.
And surprisingly, gaming platforms. Steam, Discord, even Minecraft.
It sounds strange, but
Yeah.
they leverage these everyday platforms, special game mods with hidden chat channels, coordinating attacks via in-game messages. It highlights their adaptability, using unexpected channels.
The darknet marketplaces have also matured, like illicit e-commerce sites.
Pretty much. With escrow services to ensure deals go through, reputation systems for sellers, they're specialized now too. Marketplaces for exploits, others for stolen data, others for network access.
Makes you wonder what your own data is worth on there.
It's a sobering thought. Your digital footprint, your credentials, they have value in this underground economy.
And despite all this tech, they're still doing physical meetups for critical stuff.
Apparently, yes. For highly sensitive planning, strategy discussions. Using things like cover stories, hacker conferences in countries with no extradition treaties, it suggests some things are still too sensitive even for encrypted digital channels.
Okay, let's talk about some of the major incidents our sources highlighted between 2023 and 2025. Operation Digital Silk Road. What was that?
Attributed to APT29, Cozy Bear. It involved compromising telecommunications infrastructure along the new Silk Road trade routes.
For what purpose?
Large-scale espionage, it seems. Intercepting traffic, financial data, communications for over a year. Huge intelligence haul.
Then the attack on the global financial system late 2023, Evil Corp.
That's the attribution. They reportedly targeted major clearinghouses, subtly altering transactions over time.
How much was stolen?
Over $1.2 billion, according to the reports. And most of it was never recovered. Shows the potential for massive systemic financial disruption.
Operation Eclipse in 2024. Sandworm. That was the power grid attack.
Yes, in Europe, causing a cascading blackout affecting around 2 million people. Huge economic losses and potential fatalities, too. A very real physical impact from a cyber attack.
There's that ironic quote from the energy company spokesperson afterwards.
Yeah, something about unforeseen digital vulnerabilities after presumably spending fortunes on physical security. Shows where the threats are shifting.
The medical nightmare in early 2025. Allegedly APT28 linked, manipulating clinical trial data.
That one is deeply concerning. Modifying results, leading to potentially unsafe drugs being approved. Thousands of patients reporting adverse effects according to the sources. It hits at the integrity of medical research itself.
And the attack on the global DNS system, March 2025. Possibly the biggest ever.
Potentially, yes. Compromising the root DNS serves the internet's phone book, essentially. Redirecting vast amounts of traffic to malicious sites for about 6 hours.
Enabling massive data theft and malware spreading.
Exactly. It could have been catastrophic. You have to wonder, did you notice anything odd with the internet around then? It might have been subtle.
And finally, Operation Digital Ghost. Still ongoing. Planting back doors during manufacturing.
Yeah, that's the allegation. Introducing sleeping malicious code into the firmware of critical infrastructure components before they're even installed.
So they could be activated later, all at once.
That's the terrifying potential. A hidden global kill switch embedded in critical systems, incredibly hard to detect or fix after the fact.
Okay, that's a lot of bad news. But there are countermeasures, right? Global efforts.
Yes, thankfully. It's not all one-sided. International cyber alliances are forming, like the Global Cyber Defense Initiative mentioned in the sources, sharing intel, coordinating responses.
And technological defenses are advancing too. Quantum cryptography.
That's a big one. Creating quantum-resistant communication networks. The first international quantum network is apparently being established. It offers the promise of truly secure communication, theoretically unbreakable by current or even future quantum computers.
And AI isn't just for attackers. Defenders are using machine learning.
Absolutely. Advanced ML for anomaly detection, sifting through massive data streams to spot subtle signs of intrusion that humans would miss. It's definitely an AI arms race.
Biometrics are getting better too, beyond just fingerprints.
Yeah, next-gen multi-factor biometrics, combining different biological traits. Though, of course, hackers are already working on ways to bypass those too. It's constant cat and mouse.
What about digital twins for cyber defense, simulating attacks?
That's a really innovative approach. Creating exact virtual replicas of networks or systems, then throwing simulated attacks at the twin to find weaknesses and test defenses without risking the real thing. Very smart.
And international law, things like the Geneva Digital Convention, are they helping?
There are efforts to create norms and laws, yes, but effectiveness is limited. Attribution proving who did it is incredibly hard, and political disagreements get in the way.
Who is responsible when state-sponsored or state-tolerated hackers launch attacks? It's a huge, complex question.
It really is.
Yeah.
Defining state responsibility in cyberspace is one of the biggest legal and political challenges right now.
Looking even further ahead, what are the experts predicting? What are the next frontiers?
Well, quantum hacking is one using quantum computers to break existing encryption on a large scale.
Attacks on AI itself.
Yes, poisoning the data AI learns from, creating blind spots, manipulating AI decision-making.
Cyber-physical attacks becoming more common?
Definitely. Targeting the Internet of Things, smart cities, connected vehicles, attacks where digital actions have immediate kinetic effects in the real world.
Biohacking. That sounds ominous.
Compromising genetic databases, manipulating drug development processes remotely, it opens up a whole new realm of ethical and security concerns.
And cognitive warfare, using deepfakes and propaganda.
Exactly. Highly personalized disinformation campaigns using synthetic media, big data profiling, aiming to manipulate perception, sow discord, influence opinions on a massive scale, undermining trust itself.
So the takeaway here seems pretty clear. In 2025, these digital threats aren't abstract. They're as real as any physical threat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Russian cyber actors we've discussed, based on our sources, remain key players.
Mm-hmm.
Highly skilled, technically proficient, often demonstrating really innovative, out-of-the-box thinking.
That analogy really stuck with me. A mouse click, potentially more devastating than a bomb, code more dangerous than a bullet.
It powerfully illustrates the leverage technology provides. Cyberspace truly is the fifth domain of warfare now, alongside land, sea, air, and space.
And these attackers, they're not necessarily obvious. They could be anyone.
That's right. They look like ordinary people. It's their deep understanding of technology and how to exploit it that makes them different and dangerous.
So why does this concern everyone listening? Why should you care?
Because we're all connected. Everything runs on digital threads now. Your phone, your bank account, your smart home devices, your medical records.
That interconnectedness makes everyone a potential target, or at least potentially affected.
Exactly. Whether you're targeted directly or caught in the crossfire of a larger attack, everyone has exposure.
But there's no need for panic, right? There are things people can do. Absolute protection isn't possible, but basic digital hygiene helps a lot.
It makes a huge difference. Our sources consistently emphasize this. Good habits significantly reduce your risk profile.
So the basics, strong, unique passwords, don't reuse them.
Critically important, use a password manager if you need to.
Enable two-factor authentication wherever you can. That extra layer helps.
Absolutely. Make stolen passwords much less useful to attackers.
Be skeptical, really critical of suspicious emails, messages, links, attachments. If it feels off, it probably is.
Trust your gut. Verify through another channel if you're unsure.
Keep your software updated. Those patches often fix known security holes.
Don't ignore those update prompts. They're important.
Back up your data regularly, especially against ransomware.
Crucial. If they encrypt your files but you have a clean backup, you're in a much better position.
And generally, just develop that digital vigilance. Think critically about what you see and do online.
That critical thinking is maybe the most powerful defense tool overall. And remember, many of these advanced methods we've talked about, they're not science fiction. They're already in use.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's really clear that understanding these evolving threats in 2025 isn't just for the tech experts. It's vital for everyone.
It really is. We hope exploring this has given you a clearer picture of the landscape, the risks, and maybe some steps you can take.
We really encourage you to think about the implications of all this, how it affects you, your work, your digital life.
It requires awareness, ongoing learning, and taking those practical security steps seriously.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. In a world where information itself is a weapon and code can reshape reality, continuous learning and constant vigilance aren't just advisable. They're pretty much essential for navigating these digital shadows safely.
Well said. Stay safe out there.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.